Guys, I have good news. You know how we're always saying that gay people are annoying? Well, congratulations. Vashite theory put into practice in Uganda. Cheers and applause in Uganda Parliament as new bill making it illegal to identify as LGBT passes. Let's hear it. What's the average like salary of a Ugandan citizen? Like $1 a lifetime? Let's like how what are their rates of child mortality? How are things going over there? What can we fix? Ah, yes. Here we go. Let's focus on the problems that matter. We did it. Now, the comments to this are actually full of Westerners saying that Uganda is ahead of America in this respect. So, this person, I was just scrolling through, and this person's spoiling shit, so fuck them. Ugandan anti-gay laws have been shaped heavily by American evangelical churches. We've talked about this before, actually. Uganda, America Evangelical Church. Basically, a bunch of American evangelicals fucking, like, literally just want to kill gay people. But they can't do it here in the United States. So they go to other countries, and they preach and they promise over there. How U.S. evangelicals are shaping development in Uganda. This is from 2014, nearly a decade ago. This is from 5 days ago. How U.S. evangelicals helped homophobia flourish in Africa. White American religious groups have given anti-gay sentiment a boost. What's interesting here is that normally we frame kind of like the reactionary politics of the non-Western world as a, like, well, we have our feminism, well, we have our, racial equality. And it is true that America is more progressive than Uganda in most ways. But many of their worst tendencies are from us. There are conservatives going over there to make things worse. They are, it's basically a form of neocolonialism. It benefits both groups. Ultra far right people in Africa get like emboldened and promoted in their homophobic agenda, whereas evangelicals get to A, kill gay people, and B, secure a political foothold in Africa that benefits them in a number of ways. It's actually a pretty complicated set of relationships. But yeah, so we've seen this bear fruit, and it's pretty bad. It is now illegal to identify as gay, and there are punishments for some acts that rise from 20 years in prison to the death penalty. Now this is pretty ambiguous, but I'm pretty sure that like if you just are found to be gay, which means you're accused of being gay, by the way. We know how anti-gay laws work. You can't scan a brain to find that it's gay, It's if you're accused of being gay, they sort of range in between jailing you for life and killing you, I think. The bill calls for life in prison for having gay sex and the death penalty for anyone found guilty of committing aggravated homosexuality without actually defining the term. Now that's a move. What is aggregated homosexuality? You know what? We'll leave it up to the judge. Whatever. Is all homosexuality not kind of aggravated? It also introduces a 5-year sentence for promoting homosexuality, while a person who touches someone with the intention of committing the act of homosexuality or is found guilty of the offense of homosexuality could receive a prison sentence of between 10 and 20 years. Vice? How do you even... Okay. Critical typo found, argument disregarded. Homosexuality is now legal in Uganda. If anything, I think this is actually a really, really, really good example of how some types of political thought and action actually shouldn't be permitted in any kind of democracy if you want to preserve that democracy and freedom. Because in this case, with regards to the Uganda bill, there were many pro-gay legislators, activists, and speakers who chose not to lobby in favor of rejecting the bill, because if they lost, they would have been jailed or killed. See, that's the thing. It's not really a neutral environment, right? If they go and they argue against the bill, that's essentially them defending homosexuality by the definition of the bill, which carries a prison sentence. Aggravated homosexuality can mean anything, so it could be the death sentence for them. Which means that it's a law that they can't actually risk protesting. Now, this is obviously a fairly extreme example, but I think in a microcosm, it's kind of a representation of how a truly free democracy, in order to maintain freedom, must prevent some kinds of expression. Because depending on how that expression is conducted, the way in which it's conducted, what it's conducted on, it's entirely possible that it might create a chilling effect, which removes freedoms from others. And that's exactly what happened here. Even the discussion of such a bill should not be allowed. Not only should it not be passed, it shouldn't even be able to be passed. But it was passed. The law will now go to President Yoweri Museveni, who can decide to either sign it into law or veto the legislation. In a statement, the Human Rights Watch has called for the government to reject the bill. Wow, really? I'm pretty sure the president is going to sign it into law. From what I've heard, I don't think there's any ambiguity on that. But they would have been protesting it before the law actually went into effect, thus rendering them innocent, would it not? Fum deadass, do you really think this law would do that? Like, if you had a bunch of people openly gay protesting to defend gay people against this law, and then the law passes, you really think they're not keeping your face and your ID on file? That's like number one shit, man. Like, you pass draconian laws, find out who protested against them and deal with them is like number one. That goes back before the concept of a nation state. That goes back to kingdoms, you know, where like kings would pass like grain taxes and shit. And when people would protest against them, like there would be like servants of the crown who would mark you in public and follow you. Like that, this goes back like as far as we have authority or law as a concept, but it's truly horrific. How do we prevent this and undo it? We can't. Good question, though. I swear I saw a bunch of like anti-gay comments the last time I scrolled through this. I guess given it enough time, the people like the normies trickle in, and most people aren't this fucking insane. Oh, and by the way, in case you're wondering where things are going here, all the people who said that don't say gay in Florida, like all the people in that Twitch panel that I had made the mistake of talking with like 2 years ago, was like, oh, well, it's just up to 3rd grade. Obviously not. Because no authoritarian leader is like, yeah, we're here to protect the children, and we're totally not going to use this as a pretext for expanding authoritarian legislation that like removes minority groups from public mention. He's looking to expand it to all grades, literally to make it you know, like a criminal offense for there to be any mention of sexual orientation or gender identity in any school, which obviously means gay or trans people, because you can mention you have a husband if you're a woman, just not if you're a man. Obvious. We've seen that before. We already know that. In fact, Republican legislators have even admitted that the law is constructed in such a way as to enforce a double standard. But it doesn't matter, you know. But hey, if you want to know like where things are going, Ron DeSantis is a Christian evangelical with ties to Christian evangelical groups, an ally of Christian evangelicals. And look what those Christian evangelicals do when they aren't, you know, limited by a country with democratic norms. They kill you. They just kill you. They will line you up against the wall and they will shoot you. That is what they want to do. It's what evangelicals have wanted to do with gay people for a long time. This is not ambiguous. They've said this openly. This is not new information. And they will go to other countries and they will do it there. And then they will come here to the United States and say, oh, well, at least you complain about this shit. At least we're not in Uganda, smiling to themselves as they slowly work to build Uganda in America. And then they pay no taxes, correct? You want to bet these Ugandan politicians attend 20-man orgies? Of course they do. All powerful people are bisexual. I'm kind of not joking. The wealthier and more powerful you get, the more inclined you are in your free time to partake in the degenerate perversions of the hedonistic bourgeoisie, which of course includes men holding hands, men kissing on the lips, men sort of like hugging each other, but more around the waist than the chest, you know, stuff like that. And they cannot resist these temptations. Why would they? They have all the power in the world.